Welcome back. As promised, now I'm going to show you how you would use the enable pins to be able to use pulse width control of speed of your motors. And you can see I've done some slight modifications here. Since I'm going to use the enable pins, first thing I did, of course, is I pulled off the jumpers that were located both here and here, which held the L298 in high state on the enable pins. Okay, so now we have the option of being able to make them go high or low. Recall from the earlier video that if I have my enable pins go low, it means that I can actually coast my robot. With the enable pins fixed into high position, dealt two highs or two lows, put it in an active brake mode. Now, if I turn the enable pins low, the robot will coast. Okay, it's going to give me a smoother performance. I also took all four of these, okay, the input pins, and moved them down here. Okay, the reason I moved them down there, let's see if I can look at the diagram. I needed to get them out of the way for one thing. But I moved them down to 9, 10, 11, and 12. 9 and 10 are PWM pins. I could still use them that way, but I just kind of want to get them out of the way, and I didn't want to split my wire bundles. I had a 4-position hood on this, so it worked out really nicely. I'm not doing anything with these pins right now. And I have freed up these pins, okay, which is what I'm going to go ahead now and use for controlling the enable pins and pulse width modulating them. So let's get that out of the way. And let's take a look at the code. Okay, this is critical. I have now moved my input pins. Okay, they were 3, 4, 5, and 6. I have moved it to 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, I've moved them down the line here in the teensy. I then took a 2 filament cable here, and it's split at this end. Okay, so one is going to the enable pin on this side of the chip, which controls the enable of this motor. The other one is hooked up to the enable pin on this side of the chip, which controls the enable of this motor. And those 2 wires come down, and they're currently hooked up into pins 3 and 4, which of course are are PWM pins. So I have called those enable 1 and 2, and they are in fact PWM pins, and they are 3 and 4. The LED remains the same. All of this remains the same. I've set it all to output. How about that? Let me pause this and add my enable pins. Add my enable pins as output. Give me one moment here. So for those of you who are new to my channel, you realize I seldom correct my mistakes and I let them go. For those of you who have followed me over from my other channel, which I'll be killing this year, you're used to it. So at any rate, here we go. I have now in fact made my 2 new pins, the enable pins 1 and 2, as outputs. Okay, and let's go on down to the code. This actually really hasn't changed a whole lot. The only thing that I've added is I'm going to just basically be pulse widthing, if that's a word. I'm going to use pulse width modulation on my 2 enable pins. Okay, I'm giving these 2 pins, I'm setting their direction. Okay, and now I'm going to pulse with the enable pin to set the speed. If we go down here, this code hasn't changed at all. The only thing that's going to happen is that value for I is going to get passed now to this position here, and we're going to then pulse width modulate the 2 enable pins, and we will see that we have a change in speed. So I'm going to go ahead and load it up. I'm confident that it's going to work, and I'll pause it. And lo and behold, it actually did work, even with my little snafu there. I was optimistic. And you can see that these pins are held into position of the high and low. These two wires here, which are going to the enable pins, are pulse width modulated, and you are seeing essentially the same effect. Okay, the only difference is now I have the capacity of actually making the robot go to a coast mode, which I couldn't do before. It also makes some of the programming perhaps easier. Being able to control the speed with just 2 pins universally means that I don't have to actually muck with this code here, where I was changing if the pin was high, that was the one I pulse width modulated, and I set the other pin low. So logically the code becomes easier to deal with if I think of each one as simply speed. So it's on or off, forward or back, left or right, and then the other pins are dedicated to speed. So I'll probably write one more program and show it to you, and hopefully this is informative, and I will see you all again soon.